Hi, my name is Roy Harris, and I've actively studied over 20 different styles of martial arts from Brazil, Thailand, the Philippine Islands, Japan, France, Indonesia, China, Russia, and the United States. I'm a senior instructor in Bruce Lee's Jeet Kune Do concepts and the Filipino martial arts under Sifu Paul Vunak, a third-degree black belt in Shoshin-T Karate under Sensei Larry Kurtz. I'm also a first-degree black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu under Professor Joe Moreira, and I'm also a green glove in Boxe Française Savate under Professor Salem Asli. Additionally, I've trained extensively in leg locks with Russian Sambo stylist and black belt Nikolai Baturin. Hi, my name is Roy Harris, and welcome to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu 101. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce you to my crew. To my left here is Mr. Darren Gu, Louis Cercedes, Mike Regala, Preston Rollins, and Sean Innes. With that said, let's get started. What I'd like to do is give you an overview of what I'm going to teach you on this tape. For starters, we have a panoramic view of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You need three things when it comes to being effective with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. First, you need technical knowledge. You need knowledge and proficiency in physical movements. Secondly, you'll need physical attributes. Physical attributes are the qualities that fuel your techniques, like speed, power, and explosiveness. And thirdly, you'll need strategy. Strategy is a group of individual tactics for the specific situation you might encounter. Okay, the roadmap to your education in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu first starts out with positional escapes, where you learn how to escape from the different positions. Secondly, we go to positional dominance. This is the other side of the coin, where you learn how to dominate from the various positions. Next, we'll move into the mechanics of specific submissions, like arm locks and chokes. Next, we'll move to specific attribute development, like timing, speed, power, so on and so forth. Next, we'll move to positional counters and reversals. And then finally, we'll move to submissions, escapes, and counters. To tell you a little bit about my teaching method, first I want to start out with principles and guidelines. These principles and guidelines are the laws that govern your movements. Once you understand the movements and understand these laws, these principles and guidelines, you can become creative and figure a lot of these things out on your own. Next, I'll talk about formulas. A formula is just a simple way of remembering the process of moves. Thirdly, I'll show you a series of techniques. The techniques are actual physical movements, where you need to pay attention to specific detail. For example, an arm lock, bringing your heels to your buttocks, squeezing your knees and your toes together, securing the elbow to your stomach and the wrist to your chest. Finally, you need to understand that there is a progression of training that we use. Just like in mathematics, you start out with a value system, you start out with learning how to count 1, 2, 3, and then you go into basic arithmetic, algebra, so on and so forth. We're going to do that same thing here in this video series. Principles. There are three principles to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. The first is space. When you find yourself in an inferior position, you need to create space so that you can perform your escape. When you find yourself in a superior position, you need to stay as close and as tight as possible. Remember, when it comes to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, there's only two types of games. One which is fast and loose, and a second which is slow and tight. Now, the second principle is weight. When you find yourself in the inferior position, your main goal is to get the weight off of the center of your body and dump it off to one side of your body. When you find yourself in the superior position, you need to keep your weight centered on the opponent's upper torso. The third principle is attributes. You need to understand that attributes are what fuel your techniques and what make these techniques work. The main attributes that you need to develop in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu are balance, coordination, timing, sensitivity, and endurance. The mounted position, principles and guidelines. Number one is space. You need to create space between your hips and your opponent's hips. The second principle and guideline is weight. Get the opponent's weight off of your upper torso. Formulas. We utilize two formulas to escape from the mounted position. Number one, we establish posture, we trap one side of the opponent's body, and then we off-balance the opponent's body. The second formula, we again establish posture, we create space at the hips, and then we move our hips to free our legs. Okay, let's take a look at our first technique, our first escape from the mount. It's called UPA. And with UPA, first thing you want to do is you want to trap their arm. Take both of your hands and pull their arm to your chest. You trap their foot. You raise your hips straight up, and then you turn towards the side that you've trapped. Okay, let's take a look at that one more time. First thing you want to do is you want to trap their arm. When you trap their arm, it's important that you trap the top of the forearm as well as the tricep so that the opponent can't get their arm free. Next, you need to trap their foot. Then you raise your hip straight up and turn towards the side that you've trapped. Okay, let's take a look at our second technique. This is the same thing as the first technique where we trap one side of the body, raise our hips to off-balance the opponent's body, and then come to our knees. So now the opponent has his arm under our neck. First, we're going to trap it by grabbing the back of our head and pulling our elbow next to our head. We're going to trap the foot. We're going to take our other hand, put it underneath his hip. We're going to raise our hip straight up and turn towards the side that we've trapped. Let's take a look at it again. Okay, first, trap the arm. Trap the foot. Put your hand on the hip. Raise your hips up and push and turn. Transit posture. Okay, let's take a look at the next technique. This technique is called the elbow knee escape. And when you do this, you first need to start out with posture so that it makes it difficult for your opponent to arm lock you or choke you. Next, you're going to put your forearm at the bend of the body, your right forearm at the bend of the body, and your left elbow inside his thigh. This is what's going to give you leverage to create space between your hips and their hips. Next, Louis is going to turn onto his side and move his hips away. That creates space so that he can bring his left knee up in between himself and Preston. Then he's going to take his left forearm and put it underneath Preston's neck. This will prevent Preston from putting his weight back on top of him. Louis is then going to move his hips to the left and with his right hand push on Preston's knee and clear his right leg and put him in the guard. Let's take a look at that one more time. Okay, put your forearm at the bend of the body, right forearm, left elbow inside, bridge up, turn onto your side, move your hips, clear your knee, put your forearm under his neck, move your hips, clear your knee, and put him in your guard. Okay, let's take a look at our next technique. This is going to be a variation of elbow knee escape. Now this technique is actually more complicated than the first one, but physically it's a lot easier to perform. First thing Louis is going to need to do is he's going to need to raise his hips up and turn onto his side. You always got to start elbow knee escape on his side. Next, he's going to take his bottom leg, his left leg, and move it away from Preston's right leg. He's going to take his right foot and hook it underneath Preston's right foot. Next, as he takes his right foot to lift Preston's right foot, he's going to take his left elbow and push Preston's leg between his legs. That clears Louis' left leg. Next, he'll take his left arm, forearm, and put it under his neck. Continue to move his hip to the left. Put his right elbow against Preston's left knee and clear his right knee, and then put Preston in the guard. A lot of moves, huh? Let's take a look at it again. Okay, let's take a look at this elbow knee escape variation one more time. First thing you need to do is you need to turn onto your side. As you turn onto your side, you're going to take your foot, hook your foot underneath their foot, take your left elbow, put it against their thigh. You lift the foot up and you push with your elbow to clear space for your leg. Once you get that leg between your legs, you're going to put your forearm against his neck, move your hips to the other side, and put him in your guard. Okay, let's take a look at it from another angle. Okay, let's take a look at the next technique. The next technique is called the foot drag. Sometimes when you go for the foot lift, the previous technique, your opponent keeps his foot on top of your thigh. So the first thing Darren's going to do, he's going to turn onto his side, and he's going to move his left leg back to create space so that he can get his right foot in underneath Sean's. However, Sean feels that coming and he puts his foot against Darren's thigh. So what Darren is going to do, instead of hooking with his toes, he's going to take his heel and hook against Sean's foot. He's going to pull that foot between his legs, squeeze his knees together, raise his hips straight up, and push the knee between his legs. Darren will then continue to move his hip to the left and put Sean in his guard. Okay, the same thing with the elbow knee escape. You always need to turn onto your side first. Now, as I go for the foot lift, and Sean puts his foot against my thigh, I'm going to take my heel and hook the top of his foot, and I'm going to try and bring it in between my legs. One point here, sometimes what happens is because their knee is so high or because their leg is short, you feel like you can't reach it. So you take your elbow, you push their foot down so that you can hook it with your heel, and you pull it between your legs. Cross your ankles, squeeze your knees, raise your hips up, and push the knee between your legs. Just like before, the forearm goes against his neck. I take my right arm and put it on the inside of his left thigh. I move my hips away and put him into my guard. Okay, the same thing with the elbow knee escape. You always need to turn onto your side first. Now, as I go for the foot lift, and Sean puts his foot against my thigh, I'm going to take my heel and hook the top of his foot, and I'm going to try and bring it in between my legs. One point here, sometimes what happens is because their knee is so high or because their leg is short, you feel like you can't reach it. So you take your elbow, you push their foot down so that you can hook it with your heel, and you pull it between your legs. Cross your ankles, squeeze your knees, raise your hips up, and push the knee between your legs. Just like before, the forearm goes against his neck. I take my right arm and put it on the inside of his left thigh. I move my hips away and put him into my guard. Okay, let's take a look at it from another angle. Okay, it's important at this time that you turn onto your side, that you put your left elbow against his knee. Because sometimes when you go to bring your foot over, because of the shortness of their leg or just where their knee is at, you need to push that leg down so that you can hook it with your heel. Cross your ankles, squeeze your knees together, raise your hips up, push their leg between your legs. His forearm goes against the neck. This hand will go against the inside of his thigh. I move to create space, my hips, so I can move underneath them and put him in my guard. Okay, let's take a look at our next technique. Now this technique is actually pretty simple, but you'll never see it in any other Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tape or taught in a school. Sometimes what happens is you have a difficult time escaping from the mount using upa or elbow knee escape. So what you have to do is you have to give them something in order to get something. Let's take a look at the technique. Darren is having a difficult time escaping. So what he's going to do is he's going to give Louis his left arm, push up on his chest, knowing that Louis is going to take his arm. And then Darren is going to escape. Go ahead, let's see the technique. As Darren goes to push up on Louis' chest, and he feels Louis' hands go on top of his chest, he's going to prepare his right arm to stop Louis' right leg from coming over the face. and then he's going to sit up, put his head down, and establish posture. Okay, I'm having a difficult time escaping from Darren's mount, so what I'm going to do is take my hand, push up on his chest, knowing that he's going to take my arm. As I feel his hands go on my chest, I'm preparing my left hand to stop his thigh from coming over my face. Go ahead. So what I'm going to do is take my hand, push up on his chest, knowing that he's going to take my arm. As I feel his hands go on my chest, I'm preparing my left hand to stop his thigh from coming over my face. Go ahead. Okay, this next technique is called foot on the bicep. Sometimes your opponent is riding high up on you, they've got their knees under your armpits, and you're having a difficult time doing upa or elbow knee escape. So what you're going to do is you're going to take both hands and put them in his armpit. You're going to push him over your head to create some space, and then you're going to roll up and put your left foot on their right bicep. You can either grab their gi or grab their wrist, push with your foot, and pull with your hand. And you end up in their guard. Let's take a look at it one more time. So what you're going to do is you're going to take both hands and put them in his armpit. You're going to push him over your head to create some space, and then you're going to roll up and put your left foot on their right bicep. You can either grab their gi or grab their wrist, push with your foot, and pull with your hand. And you end up in their guard. Okay, remember this technique is for when your opponent is riding up high on you, their knees are in your armpits. You're having a difficult time doing elbow knee escape or upa. You're going to take both hands, put it under their armpit, and push them over top of your head. Next, you want to roll up and put your left foot on their bicep. As you put your left foot on their bicep, you take your right hand, you grab their wrist or their gi, you push with your left foot, and come to their guard. When you find yourself mounted by somebody and you're having a difficult time escaping with elbow knee escape or upa, and their knees are riding up high into your armpits, you're going to take your hands, put them under their armpits, and push their upper torso away from you. Next, you want to roll up and put your left foot on his bicep. As I put my left foot on his bicep, I take my left hand, grab the gi, or I grab his wrist, either one is fine. I push with my left foot, I pull with my left hand, and I end up in the guard. The guard position, principles and guidelines. Number one, the first principle is space. You need to create space when you're in your opponent's guard to uncross his ankles. Also, you need to stay close to your opponent when you're in the process of passing the guard. Principle number two is weight. Keep your weight centered on the opponent's upper torso when passing his guard. The formula for passing the guard is basin posture, uncross the ankles, control the opponent's hips, and then pass under or over the opponent's leg. Okay, and passing the guard. The first thing you need to do is establish basin posture. Base, Darren needs to spread his knees apart and he needs to put his butt on the ground so that it makes it difficult for Sean to sweep him. Next, he needs to establish posture with his upper body. There's a couple of types of ways in which to do posture. The first one we do here with the gi. He takes his left hand and grabs both lapels to stop Sean from sitting up. He takes his right hand and grabs the belt to monitor Sean's hip. And he sticks his chin down in his chest to guard against Sean applying a collar choke. The second type of posture we do is for when we wrestle without a gi, is we put both hands on the biceps and we put our head down. Okay, now that we've established basin posture, next thing we need to do is uncross the ankles. So Darren is going to take his left knee, put it between Sean's cheeks, and his right leg he's going to stretch back. As he puts his weight back, you see Sean's legs uncross. Darren is going to take his right hand and push Sean's leg down to the ground. Next, Darren is going to take his left hand and go underneath Sean's leg, put his hand on the stomach or on the belt, and lift his elbow up. This puts the leg on top of Darren's shoulder. Next, Darren will take his left hand and grab the lapel and drive forward. This right here is extremely important. At this position, you have to keep the weight on the opponent's upper torso. This is step number 3 in the formula that I talked about, where you have to control their hips. From this point, Darren is going to pivot around to his left, push with his chest forward, and pass Sean's guard. Okay, let's take a look at the replay. Darren is going to take his left knee and put it between Sean's cheeks, and take his right leg and stretch his right leg back. And he sits down. As you notice, Sean's legs have uncrossed. Sometimes they uncrossed, sometimes they don't uncross, but the goal is to put the weight back and down. Darren is now going to take his right hand and push Sean's left leg to the ground. His left hand, Darren's left hand, is going to come underneath Sean's right leg. He's going to put his hand on the stomach, raise his elbow up so that Sean's leg goes on top of his shoulder. And then he's going to grab Sean's gi, drive forward. Now at this point in time, it's very important that you put all of your weight onto the opponent. You have to put the weight there. If you don't, the opponent's going to be able to move his hips. Remember step number 3, control the opponent's hips. From there, Darren is going to move around to his left and pass the guard. Okay, next I'd like to show you a series of techniques when you meet a specific type of resistance. So it's still going to be the same basic pass. Your hands are in posture. You got the bottom of your body in base. You're going to put your knee between his cheeks. Come back. Your hand goes underneath. And you get to this point. But what happens sometimes is they put their hand on your hip. Okay, as they put their hand on your hip, what I want you to do is I want you to put your knee, your right knee, inside and push their arm out. And now pass the guard. Let's take a look at that one more time. Okay, base and posture. I uncross the ankles. Come to here, and then he puts his hand on my hip. I'm going to put my knee inside his arm, push out, and then put my weight on top of him and pass. Now, a variation to that same technique. Get to here, he puts his hand on my hip. Instead of putting my knee inside, I put my knee outside and I push down and in. And pass. One more time. Knee goes outside his arm. Now push in and down. Okay, one more variation. Same thing. Pass the same way. Get to here, and he puts his hand on my hip. Now instead of inserting my right knee, I insert my left knee. I take my right hand, grab the gi, I pull up, spin, and take his arm. Take a look at that one more time. Insert my left knee. Right hand grabs. Okay, let's take a look at another variation. We do the same basic pass. They put their hand on the hip, but now instead of trying to force my way to my right, I'm going to put my left knee over top of his leg. It's important at this point in time that you just put your knee over. Keep your foot on the other side. I'm going to take my left hand, go underneath his neck, and with my right hand, I'm going to grab his tricep. I keep my left foot over top of his leg, bring my right leg back, and then I'm going to straighten my left foot out and pass. One more time. My left knee over, keep the foot there. Left hand under the neck, head down. Right hand grabs the left tricep. Put my right leg on this side, straighten up my left foot, and pass. Now, my left knee over, keep the foot there. Left hand under the neck, head down. Right hand grabs the left tricep. Put my right leg on this side, straighten up my left foot, and pass. Now, instead of putting my left knee over, this time I'm going to put my right knee over. I still keep my foot on the other side. I still put my left hand under the neck. Right hand goes on the tricep, and I put my left foot out for base. Extend my foot again, and pass. One last time. Okay, our last variation here with the same type of resistance. Pushes my hip, but now as I go to push my knee through, he pushes the knee back. I come underneath both legs and grab his belt. Gonna stand up, pull his hips up and try and put his head between my legs to here. Now I take my left knee and put my left knee in between his arm and his leg, and I come to here. Let's see that one more time. Underneath both, grab the belt, stand up. Pull his hips up and his head between my legs. My knee is going to go in between his arm and his leg, and I come to here. Okay, the second most common type of resistance that you meet when it comes to passing the guard, besides the first one when they push on your hips, is having to deal with them hooking. So you get to here and you can't pass because this foot is hooking you. First technique, you take your hand, push down on the ankle, and continue to pass. Okay? So as their foot hooks, you just simply put your hand on top of their ankle, push it down, and continue to pass. The second way of dealing with it is to put your hand on their knee or grab the pants, push the knee to the ground just a little bit, put your knee over top of their leg on the ground. Raise your foot up and pass. One last time. Push the knee outside, bring your knee inside and put it on the ground. Raise your foot up and pass the guard. Okay, across the side position, principles and guidelines. Principle number 1, space. You need to create space when you're on the bottom. Principle number 2, weight. You need to dump the opponent's weight off of your upper torso. Formulas. There's 2 formulas. Number 1, posture. Create space at the shoulders and the hips, and you place them into your guard or you go to your knees. Formula number 2, posture again. You create momentum when you can't create space, and then finally you off-balance them. Okay, for our first escape here, you need to establish posture first. You need to put one forearm under the neck, The other forearm needs to be at the bend of the body. You also need to take your knee and put your knee against their hip and that foot on top of your thigh by your knee. Next, you're going to push with both forearms to create just enough space so that you can get your knee, your left knee, on top of their knee. Now I'm going to push with both hands and with my shin to create enough space to take my right foot and hook it underneath his thigh. Then I pull my left leg out and put him into my guard. That's a lot of moves, huh? Let's take a look at it again. Okay, for our first escape here, you need to establish posture first. You need to put one forearm under the neck. The other forearm needs to be at the bend of the body. You also need to take your knee and put your knee against their hip and that foot on top of your thigh by your knee. Next, you're going to push with both forearms to create just enough space so that you can get your knee, your left knee, on top of their knee. Now I'm going to push with both hands and with my shin to create enough space to take my right foot and hook it underneath his thigh. Then I pull my left leg out and put him into my guard. Okay, for our first escape here from across the side, you need to establish posture. My right forearm goes under his neck. My left forearm goes at the bend of his body. And I put my left knee against his hip. And my left foot goes on top of my right knee. I'm going to push with both forearms and move my hip away just enough to where I can get my left knee on top of his left thigh. I'm going to push with both forearms and with my left shin to create enough space so that I can take my right foot, enter underneath his thigh, pull my left leg out, and put him into my guard. One more time. Got posture. This is what makes it difficult for him to arm lock or choke me as well as mount. I create enough space to put my left knee on top of his thigh, push with both forearms and my left shin, put my right foot underneath his left thigh, clear my left leg, and put him into my guard. Okay, for the next technique, Sean here just passed my guard. He's holding me down from across the side, but I was unable to get posture fully. I was unable to get this arm in here. And because his head is down, I can't get my arm underneath. So I'm going to come here and grab his gi. My left forearm is still underneath his body. It's at the bend of his body. Now I'm going to drive into him to get him to push back. As he pushes back, I put my butt on the ground. I pull and roll. One more time. Okay, now in this escape, Preston's arms are, one is over top of my shoulder on this side, and his left arm is over here. So it's going to be difficult for me to get my left knee in there. So I'm going to take my left hand, come underneath his arm, grab his gi. I'm going to take my right hand, put it on top of his shoulder, raise my legs straight up, and turn them towards Preston's body. As I throw my legs to my right, I'm going to push with my right hand in this direction. I'm going to pull my left arm over my head, and I end up here. Okay, Preston has passed my guard. He's holding me down here from across the side, but I wasn't able to get this forearm under his neck, so I can't establish posture like I want to. So this arm is just kind of left dangling out there, and sometimes when that happens, your opponent starts to go for your arm. As they do, you take your left hand, grab their knee, grab the gi by their knee, go ahead and take the arm. You flip up and over. Hang on to this. Escaping the headlock Cradle and Keisagatame Hold Down Series. Principles and guidelines. Number 1, space. You need to create space at the hips or create space at the shoulders. Number 2, weight. You need to push the opponent's weight off of your upper or you need to off-balance the opponent. Formulas. Formula number 1. You need to establish posture, hook the leg, drive forward and mount. Number 2, again establish posture, drive forward into the opponent, grab his waist, bridge and roll. Finally, number 3, push on the knee with both hands and escape. Okay, in escaping from the headlock, first thing you need to do is you need to turn onto your side, dip your elbow next to your ribs, and dip your chin down. Okay, this is what's going to make it difficult for them to apply pressure to your chest or apply pressure to your neck. Next, you want to take your top leg and go over top of their leg and hook your leg. As you do that, you bring your left foot to your buttocks, put your toes into the ground, take your right hand and put it against their back, and now with your left foot and your right forearm, you're going to drive forward and mount on top of that. As you mount, I want you to put both hands out wide, walk them up onto their side, and come to your knees. Put your forearm against their neck to get them to let go. And then finish up with an arm lock. Okay, let's take a look at the next technique. Now the first one, we hooked our foot. But sometimes their knee is in such a position where you can't hook their foot. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your left hand, you're going to push into them as they push back. You put your back on the ground, you bridge up and over, and you mount. Okay, our next escape is going to be from the wrestler's cradle. A lot of wrestlers like to do this. They like to grab your leg and grab your head and hold on. First thing I want you to do is I want you to cross your ankles, put both hands on top of the knee, the leg that they have grabbed, and as you straighten your legs out, you're going to push with both hands. As you push, I want you to keep this hand here. I want you to bridge up and come to your knees. One more time. Cross your ankles, both hands on top of your knees, push with your hands and straighten your legs up. This hand stays here, and you come to your knees. A little variation off of that is when they put you in the cradle, but they put you on your head. Now you're going to take your left leg, throw your left leg forward, roll to your knees and straighten your leg up. Okay, next we're going to cover escaping from Keisagatame, the scarf hold of judo. First thing I want you to do is I want you to put your arm underneath their arm and grab your own wrist. Next, you put your hip right next to their hip. You push into them just a little bit to get them to push back, and then you're going to bridge up over your left shoulder, put their back on the ground, throw your legs over top, and mount. Let's take a look at it again. Okay, our second escape from Keisagatame. Sometimes it's difficult to bridge the person up and over your shoulder. So what you need to do is you need to push into them off-balance them so that they put this arm, their left arm, on the ground. As they put that arm on the ground, you want to get your right elbow free, and now you're just going to continue just like you did from the headlock series. Hook the foot, drive forward, come on top, spread your arms wide for base, put your foot up, and finish with an arm lock. Okay, this next section is going to be on combinations and drills, learning how to put the basic techniques that you've already learned together into combinations. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go for Upa. I'm going to trap the arm, but I'm not going to trap the foot because as I go to bridge him up and over, he's going to put his foot out to catch his base. And now I go to elbow knee escape. One more time. Okay, the next combination, instead of starting out with Upa, you start out with elbow knee escape. But as you start out with elbow knee escape, they start to squeeze their knees together to make it difficult for you to spread their knees apart. When you feel them squeeze their knees together, you take both hands, grab their arm, and go back to Upa. One more time. Okay, the next combination we're going to do from the guard. You're going to start out with the basic pass. Once you get to here, you deal with that hand, you put your knee over and pass like I showed you earlier. One more time. That's a lot of moves, huh? Let's take a look at it again. Okay, we first started out this tape with techniques, learning simple techniques. Next, we went into putting the techniques together in combinations. And then finally, we get to this point where we're actually going to put the techniques together in a drill, where one side tries to accomplish a specific task and the other side is trying to prevent them. This is our first drill, where Darren is just simply going to try and escape from the mounted position, and Mike's going to try and hold him down. Let's see. Oh, that was just too easy. Okay, good. Let's take a look at our second drill. The second drill here, Darren's in Mike's guard, and he's going to try and pass. Go ahead, Darren. First thing he needs to do is he needs to establish posture. Puts his knee between the cheeks. He's trying to uncross his ankles. Up, he's got the ankles uncrossed. Let's see if you can keep them uncrossed. One more time, please. Again, he's established posture. He's uncrossed the ankles. The next goal is for him to control the hips and pass under or over a leg. Okay, very good. Okay, for this last section of the tape, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to watch me in action. I'd like you to watch what I do with my feet, what I do with my hands, how I move my hips, how I put the techniques together in combinations. I'd like to show you how we train at my school. Now keep in mind, we're grappling. This is spontaneous, but we're not going full tilt. Well, you judge for yourself. Let's see what this looks like. Ready? Louis? Now, do you see how we're just having fun? Rolling around, putting the techniques together in combinations? That's what you got to do. Well, I hope you enjoyed the tape, and I hope you can put this to some use in your own jiu-jitsu skills. If you have any questions, please feel free to call me or contact me at any time. Good training to you.
Now, in this first fight here, I happen to be grappling someone who's got about 15 pounds on me. My first concern, as soon as we've hit the ground, is to first establish my base and take my time from there. Because I'm so close to him, I feel that this guy is extremely strong, so there's no sense in me rushing, trying to force a leg lock or an arm lock. Since I've got control, I might as well keep control and wait for him to make a mistake. When you find yourself grappling somebody who is stronger than you are and someone who's bigger than you are, your first thing that you need to do is establish control over the individual and wait for an opportunity to either exchange positions. Maybe from here I might go to a mount position, or look for an arm lock or a choke or a leg lock. But you have to establish control. To establish control from across the side, you need to have your weight centered over their upper torso. You need to maintain a constant pulling motion with your arms. You need to keep something next to their hip. And finally, you need to keep your butt down. Throughout my tape series, you will see a variety of different fights that I've been involved in, but the common denominator amongst all of them is you'll see that I move very slow and very methodical. The reason for that, and the reason why I can do that, is because my game is slow and tight. If you have a game that's fast and loose, well, that's another way of grappling, but you expend a lot of energy. Therefore, your endurance has to be very high, especially in a tournament where you're going to have to fight 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 guys. So when you know you have to fight several guys, you want to stay tight, be slow and methodical, and use your energy wisely, and only explode into a position or a submission hold when you need to. Here, I lost my base, and he capitalized on it. At this point in time, what's going through my mind is I'm waiting for this guy to make a mistake. I made the first mistake by losing my balance, and he capitalized on it. But he doesn't have control of me. He needs to take his feet and hook them between my legs. But he's not doing that. He's looking for some type of submission, an arm lock or a choke. He gets greedy with his right arm, and I take it.
Go.
Okay, in the second fight here, I have 2 of my students. One is a female, her name is Leah, and unfortunately at this tournament there were no women for her to compete against. So I asked her if she would like to compete in the men's 140-pound and under division, and she agreed to it. This match that you're watching here is the championship round, or the championship match, in the men's 140-pound and under weight category. She had 1 match before this, and she outscored the person by points. And this is the championship match in the 140-pound and under.
you go.
Leah had about 6 or 7 months of training at this point in time at this tournament, and she did quite well for her experience level.
Get on. Oh, how did that happen? What you want? Oh, no.
The crowd was starting to go crazy here because it looks like her opponent is about to tap. And then everybody went crazy when she tightened this up. And there's the tap. Leah won the men's 140-pound and under championship. Here's a match between one of my students and a student from another school. My student on the bottom, Darren.
Okay, Joe. Lock that up. Look around it. Look around and get down. Drive. Side mounted good. Side mounted good.
Do you see how relaxed Darren is? Even though the guy passes his guard, Darren stays relaxed. Why? Because his foundation is in escapes. And he pulls off his patented move.
Watch it go. Good, Joe. You're good, man. You're good, Joe. Take your throat, Joe. You're good. That's it. Drive out. Fish out.
Finally gets his second foot hooked in and goes after the choke.
Take your throat, Joe. With your hands, Joe. Lock. Take his hand off the back of your head. Take it off your life. Do it. Do it, Joe. Take it off the back of your head.